It feels like the world is spinning out of control. Countries are warring with technology, evolving to inflict new levels of destruction. Economies are crashing, leaving people, families, and entire cities wondering where their next meal is coming from. Globally, there's a rise in militarism, nationalism, and dare I say, imperialism. But I'm not talking about 2025. I'm talking about 1916. World War I has been raging for a couple of years already with no end in sight. It's an unprecedented war. Handfuls of countries are forming alliances and enemies with each other on a global industrialized battlefield. Everyone has machine guns, hand grenades, tanks, and airplanes. More efficient killing machines means more deaths. Germany and France reportedly both lost millions from their male populations over the course of the First World War. There's suffering everywhere. Families starve under dictator rule or due to military tactics. This war was born out of the supposed logic, reason, and order posed by world leaders. In the politically neutral Zurich, Switzerland, European artists of varying backgrounds gathered to show their, quote, disgust for the bourgeois values and despair over World War I. Thus, Dada was born. But what is Dada? Why is it not Dadaism? To define Dada is to miss its point entirely. Dada is the rejection of conformity and order. It's an art movement that's an idea of disillusionment and defies conventions. In response to traditional art that applies carefully thought out meaning to intricate meanings and mediums, Dada art strips art of its meaning. If that sounds nihilistic, it's because it is. Life feels absurd and meaningless with a world-scale war continuing year after year. To better understand this fuzzy concept, let's take a look at a couple of the big names in the game. When searching for Dada's history, Tristan Tzara pops up again and again and again. Romanian and French, Tzara found himself in Zurich, Switzerland with other noted founders of Dada around 1916. He mostly turned to writing to air his anti-establishment ideas, but also performed, including at Cabaret Voltaire with other Dadaists. His given name is actually Samuel Rosenstock. Tristan Tzara is a persona he developed during his time in Switzerland, something other Dadaists also did. Tzara himself refuses to define Dada. He writes, Dada places before action and above all, doubt. Dada doubts everything. Dada is an armadillo. Everything is Dada too. Beware of Dada. This comes from his manifesto, Dada Manifesto on Feeble Love and Bitter Love. This manifesto shines as an example of what Dada literature is. Meaningless, rebellious, absurd, and nonsensical. It's somewhat a parody of revered political manifestos, such as the Communist Manifesto. Within his manifesto, Tzara addresses this, writing that a manifesto is a communication made to the world with the focus of discovery of an instant cure for political and literary syphilis. Apropos of logic, he writes, I consider myself very likable. Contrary to traditional literature, we see sarcasm sneak in. He puts logic in his definition, but all of his works defy logic. He hits us in the face with nonsense right on page 1 of his manifesto with this poem. There are elements, numbers, symbols, pictures that aren't seen in traditional poems. Not only that, but the arrangement makes no sense. 2 equals 3, nerve equals a picture of a pointing finger. No matter how many times you read this piece, you won't find any meaning, and that is his point. To get rid of convention and the conventional use of language, and to erase logic. Still finding some logic and meaning? Take a look at the final poem on the last page of his manifesto. Think the ending will make more sense? Not really. You know that feeling when you say or write a word so many times that it seems to lose all meaning? Tzara is, perhaps, doing a similar thing. Repeating the same word over and over, he makes readers question the word and its meaning, and therefore all words and all of their meanings. That, or he just wrote it because he felt like it, which is a real possibility with Tzara and Dada. Also within his manifesto, Zara provides instructions for readers to create their own Dada poem in his poem, To Make a Dadaist Poem. He instructs readers to take a newspaper and cut up the sentences into individual words. Place those words into a bag, shake them up, and take out one at a time. It's important to note that he doesn't want people rearranging the cut up words into a meaning of their choice. Instead, Zara wants to demonstrate the hand of chance in art and in life. Remember, we're rejecting logic and order here. Zara instructs people to write down the words as they're pulled from the bag, letting chance write the poem. This became a technique developed by other writers, such as Brian Gysin and William Burroughs. Although these future writers put thought and time into the way they arranged their cut-up words in paragraphs. David Bowie even used the cut-up method to write some of his songs, including Moon Age Daydream. Let's take a look at a video of David Bowie doing just that.
This is the way I do cut-ups. I don't know if it's like the way Brian Gysin does his or Burroughs does his, I don't know. But this is the way I do. I've used this method only on a couple of actual songs. What I've used it for more than anything else is igniting anything that might be in my imagination. I mean, you can often come up with very interesting attitudes to look into. I tried doing it with diaries and things, and I was finding out amazing things about me and what I'd done and where I was going. And a lot of the things that I'd done, it seemed that it would predict things about the future or tell me a lot about the past. It's really quite an astonishing thing. I suppose it's a very Western tarot. I don't know. Anyway, let's see what happens. I'm an alligator.
As you can see, Bowie uses Dadaist originating techniques to make a more unique art piece for himself. But back to the history of Dada. Another co-founder of Dadaism is Hugo Ball. He was a German artist who came to Switzerland on the same search for artistic absurdism as Zara. He primarily focused on performance art, frequently performing at the Cabaret Voltaire as Zara did. He did also write a Dada manifesto in which he discusses the meaning, or absence really thereof, of Dada, saying, how does one achieve eternal bliss? By saying Dada. How does one become famous? By saying Dada. As a Dadaist, Ball believes the rejection of order and logic will set one free. As aforementioned, he's known more for his performance art. Ball wrote and performed pieces with the aim to release language from conventionality. In his own words before a performance, I shall be reading poems that are meant to dispense with conventional language, no less, and to have done with it. If you Google Dada, you'll likely come across this picture of Hugo Ball taken during his performance of Carouane. In his journal, Ball wrote that he based this performance off memories of sitting through Catholic Mass as a child. The priest, clothed in robes and a tall headpiece, would recite Latin along other stiff religious gospel that was difficult for Ball to understand. Ball started his performance in the darkness off stage, making his way onto the stage and into the light as he spoke. He used simple materials, cardboard, fabric, and paint, to create an absurd but priest-like costume, complete with lobster claws. What did he recite during this performance? A sound poem. Something like this poem. This isn't the exact one that he performed that night, but similar in that it is a sound poem of Hugo Ball's.
Berry Bimba by Hugo Ball. Gaji Berry Bimba, Glandridi Lolaloni Kadori, Gajama Grama Berida Bimbala, Glandri Galasasa Lolita Lomini. Gaji Berry Bin Blasa Glasala Lola Loni Kadosu Sasala Bim. Gajama Tofami Zim Zalabin Ban, Gligla Vovolime Bin Berry Ban. Oh, Catalomane, Rhinozorosola, Hopsomen, Laulita Lomini, ho.
As you can hear, it sounds somewhat like a priest giving a sermon, but it really has no meaning. Although it may sound like it, this poem is not written in a foreign language. Its words have no meaning. They are simply sounds. Ball wrote and performed these sound poems to get people to focus on the sound rather than the meaning of words and language. Dada is all about getting rid of conventionality through nonsense. By reciting a bunch of words that have no meaning, Ball is creating classic, nonsensical Dada art. Art reflects life. So when life is at a point of chaos where everything feels possible in the worst way, it only makes sense that art would be chaotic too. When life feels meaningless, when things constantly happen that don't make sense, art will reflect that. Some people dismiss Dada as an art form because it lacks meaning and highbrow appeal, yet that's the point of Dada. If you recall the intro of this video, you may have found that the history points of chaos feel current for people today. Much of Gen Z was in diapers when 9/11 happened, followed by wars in the Middle East. Frequent mass shootings in public places and politics on social media platforms in a way society has never seen before are just some examples of how chaos has formed in today's world. It can be argued that Gen Z memes, loosely meaning jokes on the internet, are a form of neo-Dadaism. They have grown up in chaos, and so they create chaos and nonsense. Adults pull their hair at the seemingly random collections of words and images. What does it mean, they ask. Gen Z usually just shrugs and laughs. There are similarities between absurdist memes like this and absurdist collages by artists like the Dadaist Hannah Hawk. Some arrangements, like Gen Z memes on the left, have loose meaning, often negative, similar to how on the right Hannah Hawk had some loose meaning of anti-establishmentism in her collage. Other times, the images make absolutely no sense together, and that in and of itself is the point. As life repeats itself, so does art. New generations of artists will come up alongside new generations of politicians. Chaos will continue to erupt, and artists will continue to cope through the catharsis of art. Thank you for listening.